It is my pleasure to welcome once again lightworker and energy healer Karin Eke. Thank you for being a part of this Ask the Author interview series for Life After Trauma.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I'm so grateful to you, as I've told you many, many times. I'm so grateful that you're opening up to some of the really dramatic, traumatic, but also empowering experiences that you've had in your short time on this planet so far.
Yeah. Well, it is so important. I realise now, I didn't at the time, how important it is to share our stories, because it's going to resonate with people, and it's going to enable others to share their stories and free themselves from the emotional attachments that we all have to our stories.
Exactly. And I think one of the pieces about your story is, we look at you today, and I know that you're an energy healer and you have this incredible capacity to transmit energy and to feel energy. But if someone were looking from the outside, they would think, oh yeah, you're on a spiritual path, you've got it all together. And so for me personally, I was really surprised that we had another thing in common, and that was that from childhood, you actually felt like you didn't love yourself. In fact,
yeah, exactly. Well, I didn't realise that at the time. It's now in hindsight that okay, but at the time, everything was just normal. So I grew up in a world of academia. I grew up in England in a British family. And so education was a very important part of our upbringing. So that's all fine, and I was very fortunate from that point of view. But there were no place for emotions to be expressed, and that was just normal, not to express emotions, not to disturb others by showing if we were upset, or so we get into this stiff way of being because we're thinking about others and how others could feel, because we're not feeling happy, rather than just being authentic and expressing our emotions authentically, because we're always resonating with our environment, and rather than making myself comfortable, I was thinking about making others comfortable, but I was denying myself, which is a sign of lack of self-love, and
yeah.
And so it continued for many years.
And so part of that was the time period in which you were born and what your parents were experiencing. Mm-hmm. And so you also mentioned that some of the ways that your father interacted with you created a real impact on your self-esteem.
Yes, exactly. Because, in childhood there was not really any difficult interaction. It was because I was just doing everything they said and just being the perfect little girl who went to school, got the good marks, and
you followed the rules.
That was enough. Their rules, not my rules, but their rules.
Yeah.
Yes. So as a teenager, communication sort of broke down with my father, because we just couldn't communicate. And so I was more in communication with my mum, and it was just ignore it, and if you're experiencing this, you shall. It's going to make you stronger, and you'll never know anything worse.
Wow.
And that was not the case.
Yeah. Well, you did get a little bit of a reprieve. You mentioned in your chapter in the book, Life After Trauma, you mentioned that when you went away from home, you went away to university, you felt like you could breathe a little bit.
Most definitely, because I was really looking forward, actually, I started dreaming about how could life be once I've left home, and so I was really looking forward to going to university and experiencing something different. And so, yes, I felt free. I realised that I could have fun because, having fun and enjoying yourself wasn't really the dumb thing. So, yes, that was a window of opportunity that lasted for a few years. And then I met my husband-to-be, which was all well for many years, but then the old conditioning came back somehow. It sort of crept in without my realising it. And with the hindsight, I obviously realised that he was just an embodiment of this energy that I'd blamed on my father, as I wasn't seen, I wasn't heard, I was never told I was loved, I was never congratulated for anything I did. And so I didn't get that from my now ex-husband, but it was just normal, so it was comfortable in a way.
Yeah.
Because why on earth would I be looking for that when I'd never experienced it? So, until one day I was feeling really down, I think, and looking for solutions. And I think it was probably the birth of our second child, who had congenital heart disease, and I just knew that there was a reason for it. There was something more to it than just this physical illness. And
so, where do you think that knowing came from? Because for you to have been conditioned that we look after others, this is just how life goes. But what made you think, oh, there's actually a reason for this heart condition? Like, where did that knowing come from?
I don't think it was thought. I think it was a deep feeling in my body that there's a message here. Mm-hmm. But whether it was just resistance in order to cope with that situation, because experiencing learning that your child has congenital heart disease was a traumatic event in itself, and we had to work through that. So whether there was some resistance on my behalf in order to cope with that situation, but I don't know how really to explain it. But for me, it was a deep knowing within me. It wasn't in the brain.
Right. And was this really the opening to this new path that you're on now, this ascension path, where you're really able to sense the differences between our energy body and the emotions? Because you've said that this heart condition, we can think of the heart as a physiological organ pumping blood, but there's also a symbolic heart meaning, right?
Oh, for me, definitely it's symbolic of pumping joy. Blood represents joy, pumping joy. There wasn't enough joy in my life, but I didn't realise it. And so the start of the real spiritual awakening was in 2010, when I met this incredible therapist. I could feel energy flowing around me, and she was actually seeing my son, but I was feeling the immediate benefits. So that was the starting point, I think, of my transformation, thanks to my son and thanks to this lady. And then, of course, guilt set in, because I thought, oh no, he's having the therapy and it's really us that need it.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you describe that as a real turning point, because this experience of being able to feel healing when you weren't the one sitting in that room with the therapist, but it started you on this greater path of awakening, right?
Most definitely, yes. And, just synchronicities were flowing in. I was in a different space completely. My body felt so much lighter. I never felt fatigue ever. I was not necessarily sleeping anymore, but it was just this space of lightness, of feeling at one with the universe, everything flowing perfectly every day. It doesn't mean we didn't have issues to sort out, but everything happened with ease and grace, and wow, I've accomplished so much today, and looking back and thinking, well, that's really amazing, but it was all the time. So.
And I think that's one of the crazy things that I loved about the story that you shared in our other book, Magic and Miracles. You had these experiences, but it wasn't like just a little fleeting moment of, oh, I'm feeling better, I'm feeling lighter. Like you experienced this lightness over prolonged days, weeks, even months. And I think what's important here is that it wasn't like so many things in your outside world changed, right? Like your son was definitely getting the therapy that he needed, but the challenges in your relationships, you know, with your ex-husband. So tell me about how were you able to maintain or hold on to that sense of peace and this energy flow despite, you know, the craziness of being a mom with 2 kids and an unhappy marriage. And
yeah, well, I think it was just a complete shift in perception. That same year, I came across Louise Hay's work and her amazing book on You Can Heal Your Life.
yeah.
And I just remember looking at a list of illnesses and the old way of thinking. There was a column of the old way of thinking and the new way of thinking. And at the time I had eczema. So I quickly looked at what eczema meant, and it was dealing with emotions and mental eruptions. And I just remember thinking, wow, I'm having mental eruptions and it's showing up on my body. Wow, I've got to undo that pattern. So I was just on this journey I have to overcome this. I was just excited about how we can shift our reality. And I freed myself from eczema, you know, and freed others from their simple things as well. And how did I hold on to it? Though it's being in this lightness, just knowing that we are so much more than a physical body, knowing that we can shift our reality, and just seeing that my relationship got a lot better at the time. And I thought, wow, my son is shifting his emotions. I'm shifting mine, and my immediate reality is shifting for the better. So this is just amazing, and it's shifted the whole way I look at life forever, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that's awesome. I think the way that you're able to see the symbolism in things and allow it to shift your thinking. Because sometimes, you know, people will go to psychotherapy or they'll read a self-help book and they'll get some intellectual understanding, but it doesn't shift their whole reality like it did for you.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean that everything shifted in 2010. I've had my own journey, and I still have coaches and work with people. It's an ongoing process, but there were immediate shifts for me, definitely. So yes, it's, you know, everybody's path is unique, and some people have these immediate shifts, and I'm just fortunate that I can just see through the symbolism when people are talking, because, you know, everything we do in life is for a reason, and I trained as a linguist at university, and using words is just so powerful for me and seeing how people, when they talk, they don't just talk on this level that we're here, they talk on a few levels at the same time, and it's symbolic, and listening to the phonetics of it all and seeing how we can shift words and meaning, and it just, you know, we can get immediate shifts just from looking at that from that point of view.
Well, I'd love to explore this a little more, because you and I do have this shared passion for language and communication and the symbolism. And one of the things that I think is interesting is, you know, again, to start talking a little bit more about magic, is spelling. It's as if we are casting a spell with our words and the way we write things. So tell me about this experience that you had when you were looking at your son's homework and seeing the way he was spelling things.
Yeah, that was really a mind blowing or mind expanding. I opened his book, and all the words on the particular page were missing a vowel. It was his writing. It was his. It wasn't a textbook. And I thought, how come all the I's were missing, and then the following day, like all the O's were missing, and the following day there'd be a different vowel that was missing, and this is really strange. I didn't want to blame it on him because I thought I saw immediately something was bigger was at play here, and it got me thinking about vowel, then of consonant, and then ding in my brain, the word phoneme came, and then this energy rushed into me, and I would just race to the dictionary, excited about looking up phoneme because the inner voice was telling me there's a meaning to it that you don't know. So the meaning was, I can't remember the exact words, but like an auditory hallucination in which the subject hears voices. That was precisely what I was going through. I was hearing all these voices, and just in daily life, go and do this, go and do that, and I was feeling the energy for it, and everything happened, and I met the right people, or I watched the right program, or came across the right book, or it was just, my healing path. And so, yes, spelling was definitely, there was a spell cast upon me at that point. For
Well,
sure.
I love the fact that you get sensations, like you feel the energy that's telling you, yes, you're on the right path, and that, the voices, which, I also hear voices. So, but I love that you have really started to, well, not started, but you have continued to just explore all the different ways that you personally can tune yourself as an instrument for hearing and feeling the energy and also helping others. And in fact, you've become a quantum touch practitioner.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and now you're able to like channel energy through your hands, even at a distance. Tell me more about that.
Well, that's been a process as well, because I started back in 2014 to practice this modality. So to begin with, I applied the protocol to start feeling energy and direct it in a more conscious way. And I had many magical experiences with that. What's coming to mind is that I hurt my thumb one day, and it was opened up. Something came under my thumbnail, so it was bleeding, a lot of pain, and there was white down halfway down my thumbnail. I thought, well, this is the perfect time to try it on myself to see if it works. So I applied what in quantum touch we call the fire breath onto my thumb, and I looked at my thumb, and I just couldn't believe it. The wound closed up before my eyes. The bleeding stopped. The white was healing. I mean, the pink of the nail was coming back in front of my eyes. And so I kept on going until everything was back to normal, or what I thought was normal. And I looked at it and I thought, has this just happened? But I could tell it had happened because I was still feeling the pain from the wound, but which didn't go for another couple of hours. But it just was another example of human possibility, because, okay, I did this to me, but this is possible for anybody. I'm no greater at this than anyone else. And quantum touch just enabled me to understand that all healing is self-healing. It's something we have that's innate and hardwired into a human being. And we can anyone who's interested in this modality can tune into it. So, yeah. So yes, so as this has progressed, my practice has evolved, and I channel my own healing now. I came across other modalities that I integrate into my own practice, And every magical experience now is different and mind-blowing every time. I mean, we connected, I think it was back in May, with this light worker activation that was just energy channeling through me. And
it is amazing, because what I've seen with your life is that there are these divine synchronicities. And when we're open and ready for them, they can be a part of our ascension, which of course is how one of the first things that we did. I did an interview with you for your Ascension Path summit. So tell me, you believe that all of us as human beings on this planet are on a journey. We're on a path towards ascension. Tell me what that means to you.
For me, ascension is integrating higher states of consciousness into our human experience. It's also tuning into the frequency of our heart, because our heart has so much power. It's like the magnetic force within us, how we create our reality, I've come to understand. And like the brain is the electronics of it all, and the heart is the magnetism of it all. And it's just one way of explaining it. We can probably do it in many different ways as well, but this is how I see it. And being able to, ascension is being able to, as I said, have these magical states of being, but it's not magic. It's just our soul that's speaking to us, and the French can give that to us. Magic is la magie, and it's the âme qui agit, which is the soul acting literally. It's the soul speaking to us.
So cool.
If we could all ascend into this greater sense of being, which is for me possible, then wouldn't life be different?
Yeah.
You know, divine. I consider even the trauma in my life as divine intervention, because it was enabling me through my own process to come into contact with a part of me that I was not aware of, because the outside there is always a reflection of what's going on in me. So there's no point my blaming my father or my ex-husband or whoever for whatever I'm feeling. It's just this energy within me that I needed to transmute. Which can be quite shocking at first to hear.
Yeah.
But it's all good, and we can get over that, and it can be in a light-hearted way. It doesn't have to be doing serious therapy or going through years and years of work. It can all happen in a light-hearted way, and with laughter. It can happen with laughter as well. So.
Yeah. And that's definitely what I love. I love that you do bring this lighthearted energy to what for most of us is a very serious thing, the topic of our spiritual growth. Well, Karin, I could sit here and talk to you for hours, as you know.
Thank you.
But I really am so grateful to you, and I just want to honor you for your contribution to these books, to the world, and what you're doing to help people realize that there is a happy life after trauma. There is this possibility of seeing your life in a whole new way, so that you can still experience joy.
Yes, and it's really who we are. We are joy. We are love. We are peace. We are this high vibration. We've just been perhaps a bit disconnected from it somewhere along the line, but anything possible. And I'd like to honour you for enabling to bring all these stories to life in order to reach our vision of ending all this pain and suffering on earth. So thank you so much for being such an awesome orchestrator for the whole journey.
Oh, it's my gift, my joy, my pleasure, and I do believe it's part of my life purpose at this point. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, my friends, please connect with Karin online. You can check her out at ascensionpath.com. selflove.com, where you can sign up for her free newsletter and get some little tidbits on how you can put these sorts of practices into place as you're on your journey from healing from the drama and trauma of life. Thank you so much, Karin.
Thank you so much.
Did you enjoy that interview? I sincerely hope that you did. Please support the authors by getting your copy of the book, Life After Trauma, and share this video with someone else who needs a little positivity sprinkled into their life. If you or somebody you know has a story about overcoming trauma, finding magic in life, or other types of resilience, please check out our publishing options at makeyourmarkglobal.com. Until we see each other again, my friend, please know that you are a gift to this world. So share your presence with passion. Much love.